Hey, what is going on? It is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for State of Real Estate, our weekly mastermind to help you make more money, to help you grow your real estate business. And I know a lot of you right now are sitting in a situation where you're looking out to 2020, and you might have some things it is you're trying to accomplish this year, maybe this decade, or whatever the time frame may be. But what is that translation process that turns your desire into something real? Because there's things you could do just at the point of even setting these goals that's going to set you up for success, to help you translate those dreams and desires into reality, to make that the quickest transition possible, to go from here to wherever it is that you want to be as quickly as possible, as easily as possible, and for you to actually get there too. I mean, think of how many times people have set goals and they haven't achieved those goals. And so we're going to talk about and run through some things it is to really help you avoid common mistakes when planning and setting goals, so that way you could achieve these, so you could achieve that level of success it is you desire. And look, don't write this off, because this is so important. It's little simple things, little simple shifts and ways of looking at things, but it makes all the difference in the world. So I'm super excited to bring today's episode to you. I'm John Christmo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christmas. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate, where today we're talking about goal setting. Really goal achieving. Setting your goals to be achievable. And so if you've been reading through the description, maybe you're familiar with the whole like SMART goals and whatnot. In the description, I really just put 3 things, because we're going to simplify this down. I don't care about the R and the T. So this acronym of SMART stands for specific, measurable, actionable, reachable, and timely. Now, these last 2, reachable and timely, I don't want you to worry about your goal being out of reach and you avoiding that goal and avoiding your true potential because you think it's out of reach. Because somebody might tell you to be more realistic. I'm not the guy that's going to tell you to be more realistic. I'm the guy that's going to tell you be unrealistic. Because sometimes you do have to be unrealistic to get yourself excited, to get yourself motivated. How is realistic exciting or motivating? And that's really kind of almost defeating the purpose of these goals. Your goals should inspire. Who should it inspire? Well, the only person that matters is you. Maybe if you've got a team of people behind you trying to achieve that same goal, then yes, you all need to be inspired. But first and foremost, it's got to inspire you. If it's your goal, it needs to inspire you. Now, this other thing here is timely, or the time associated with this here. And that's going to be an important element to when we're breaking down these goals of what steps you want to take. But before we even get into that, let's just start off with these. Specific, measurable, and actionable. If you could make your goal these 3 things first and foremost, don't worry about whether or not it's a realistic goal. Don't even factor in the time at first. The time is going to be something you want to break down to figure out what steps you need to take in what amount of time. But ultimately, let's get these goals down first. Specifically, what is it that you want? You know, maybe you want more time with your family. That's not specific enough. It's not just that it's your family, but how much time do you want with them? What specifically do you want to do with your family in this time? Do you want to be able to go to your kids' sports games maybe? Or maybe you want to carve out an hour a day to like help them with their homework or whatever it is. But notice how that's much more specific. When you make it specific, it's something real that you could achieve, something that you could cross off the list when it's specific. It's very easy, and that's where it comes into the measurable aspect as well, when we're saying, spending an hour a day. That's specific, it's measurable, and it's actionable. It's something, you know exactly what that goal is. You know exactly what you need to do to achieve that goal. You could measure it, because 50 minutes isn't an hour, 30 minutes isn't an hour, 10 minutes isn't an hour. So you could measure that goal to make sure you get it achieved, and it's actionable. Basically that goal is the action of you spending an hour with your kid every day. But maybe that's not your priority. Or maybe you already spend enough time with your family and you're trying to work on other things. Maybe it's money. And this is again taking out that realistic, reachability, because the amount of money it is that is within reach for you probably isn't exciting. It's probably not inspiring. It's probably not going to motivate you to put in the work that you know you need to put in. Probably not going to get you excited to do the things that you don't want to do. That's when you have a strong, powerful goal, and it might seem a little scary. It should seem out of reach. If your goals seem like they're within reach, you're not setting your goals high enough. At least my opinion. Maybe you don't want the best of everything out of life and the most of everything out of life, and you don't want to be like a superhuman. Then okay, this advice isn't for you. But if you do want to achieve everything it is you desire, if you do want to be able to live the best life you possibly could, then yeah, you've got to set those goals to be out of reach. And you know what? You might not reach those goals. You might not get there. You might not get to that point where you get to say, yes, I did it. But maybe you get close. And getting close to, let's say we're talking about money. Maybe you say, oh, my goal is I want to make $100,000 in a year because I could do that. Because that seems doable. That seems possible. Okay, it probably is. The $100,000 in a year, that's not a whole lot of money. Yeah, it might seem like it depends on what you're looking at relatively. Maybe compared to $50,000 or $60,000, yes, $100,000 is more. But now compare that to $1 million. Which one of those is more? And you might say, well, John, there's no way I can make $1 million in a year. Really? If we look up, I just heard a statistic on Amazon and, good old Jeff Bezos and what they're doing over there. I think that they've got something like $200 million they do per day. Now, granted, that's Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world, probably sells more than any other company in the world, but it's possible. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's why, again, I would ignore that timely thing. Because if you're short-sighted, if you're just looking what's directly in front of you, you're going to never make it far down the road. Because you're going to constantly be focusing at, okay, I could step here, versus how do I sprint all the way to the end of this road, to the end of this mile, to the end of this marathon. So that's why, again, don't worry about the timeliness. Don't worry about whether it's reachable. What is it that makes it exciting for you? And when we're talking about money, it's easy to have the false positive about this being specific. Because it's not so much just, I want this specific number of income. And you might say, well, John, what should I try to go for 100,000 or should I try to go for $1 million? And that's where the question then becomes is like, okay, well, what are you doing with this money? Why do you need this money? What are the expenses that say that you need to have $1 million in a year? What is that you're trying? Are you just trying to beat last year's numbers? Maybe last year you had 150,000, and this year you're trying to go to 200 or 300 or wherever it is that you're trying to go. And maybe that's the reason why you're going for that number. But if you just pick a number like $1 million off the top of your head because it's $1 million and it's bigger than hundreds of thousands, then that's not specific. And again, that's that false positive. If you could kind of trick yourself into thinking it's specific because yes, it is a specific number, but why do you specifically want it? That's really the measurable aspect. It's not that it's specific that you want that X amount of dollars. The specific is why you need that amount of dollars. What is it that you're doing with that amount of dollars? Why is it important that you make that much money? And then you get into measuring that. Okay, I need to get, let's say, $100,000 in a year, which breaks down to this much money per month, this much money per day, this much money per week, this much money per quarter. I need to make this many calls. I need to get this many new leads. I need to have this many contracts, this many closings, because now we're talking about, okay, we're measuring this, and we're breaking down to every little thing we could possibly measure. And again, we're getting specific in the execution of this. So these are the three that I would think about for all of your goals. Number one, is it specific? Number two, can you measure it? And number three, do you have steps to take action? Because if you could do these three things, you're going to be on a much better track to achieving your goals, because this is what's making them real. If you just have this idea, but you haven't thought about the details of it, it's not going to become real. You have to translate, okay, this is where I want to go. It's like, I don't know, I could try to draw out a maze on there, but you might remember, I remember when I was a child, and you know, in grade school, they'd give you like those little mazes that you have to, you know, trace your way through to figure out, okay, here's how you get to the center, and you got to go and go around, and then you avoid all the obstacles, and you make it to the center. And I used to think these mazes, this is like the hardest thing in the world. How am I ever going to get to second grade? I can't figure out this maze. And then I learned the trick. The trick is you start with the end in mind. And those simple little mazes are a really powerful teaching technique. I don't know, maybe this is the reason why they give kids mazes. Maybe it's just fun, who knows. I'm sure this is part of the idea behind mazes, because when you're starting with the end, the trick with a maze is, okay, you could just trace your way out. And you're going to pretty much avoid all the obstacles and the dead ends when you've started with that end in mind. So that's part of this reverse engineering here. The amount of dollars it is that you have is ultimately what they call a lag measure, a back-end measure, an end result. That's the result that you're looking for. But then you've got to look at, okay, these are the activities that'll move me towards that result. And this is going to be things like the number of calls, the number of appointments, the number of new leads, the dollar amount you're spending on your advertising budget, and all these other lead or front-end measures that translate to your lag or your back-end measure of how much money it is that you're actually making. And the difference between the things you take at the beginning and that final outcome at the end, how long it takes you, and this is where it's really great in running a business, because you basically get to redraw the maze. Now, when you're first starting out, if you don't have the right training, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're just trying to figure this out and just, fake it till you make it, or just, try to do the trial and error method, this is what that looks like. So you might not, and also if you don't have this figured out for the end, you might go, okay, all right, let's see here. We're going to figure this out eventually. We're going to get to selling a house somewhere. Somehow we're going to figure out how to sell a house. Okay, yep, selling a house eventually. Okay, oh, look, there we go. We finally sold a house. Now, which one of these is going to be easier? Is it going to be this scrambled path where you're just wandering aimlessly, hoping you find that treasure that you're looking for? Or does it make more sense to say, okay, well, if we just start here from the end and we go around all these dead ends, oh, look at that. This actually was pretty easy to get to. So there's a lot I'm trying to say with this analogy. Number one, make your goals specific, measurable, and actionable. Have specific reasons, specific dollar amounts, specific numbers and metrics that you could track on a at least weekly basis. At least weekly, that you're checking in. Maybe bi-weekly if you really want to push yourself, but I would make a habit out of this maybe on Fridays. It doesn't matter what day it is, but do it weekly where you reflect back on your goals, overall your long term of what you're ultimately trying to achieve, that ultimate prize that you're getting to. Maybe that's 10 houses sold. Maybe that's $10 million in gross sales for the year. Maybe that's $100,000 in commission income. Maybe the specifics are, I've got 2 kids and I want to be able to put them through school. or I want to have X amount of dollars in savings, or I want to have X amount of dollars in cash flow, or I want to be able to do this or that, and whatever it is that you're specifically wanting, then you reverse engineer that going backwards to ultimately where you could get to where you are today and what steps are going to start taking you to that end goal it is that you want. If you were to just come to me and say, John, I want to be successful, and I would say, great, that's fantastic. What do you want to be successful at? And if you were to just say, I don't know, I just want to be successful, I don't know if I'd be able to help you, because you don't have anything specific of how you want to be successful. You don't have anything measurable. How do we measure your success? What determines you to be successful? And then it's not actionable either, because we don't even know what we're trying to get. We don't even know what we're looking for. So that's a perfect example of a terrible goal. Super generic, super generalized. Now, you might just try to be better every day, and that's great, but you're probably leaving something on the table. Because when you make yourself uncomfortable, when you challenge yourself, when you push yourself to go that little bit extra, because you're inspired, because you're excited by the possibilities, you've seen the promised land, you've seen the treasure, you've seen the goal, you've seen the end result, and you say, I want that. That's what I want. Maybe that's taking trips. Maybe that's going to a certain country, a certain state, a certain city, a certain place, a certain location. Maybe it's a certain number of trips. What is it that you want? Because it's not just money. Because what are you going to do with that money? You're not getting money. Nobody gets money just to collect the money and say, this is my collection of money. No, they get money because they want to do something with the money. And maybe they've got so much money that they've ran out of things to spend it on. And that's what happens when you have somebody that has more money than they know what to do with, just stockpiled away. It's because they don't have anything else it is that they want. And until you get to that point, because that's where you get to the point where you're like people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and all these people that are like, you know what, I'm giving like billions of dollars to charity when I die. It's because they've got so much money that they've hit their limit on what it is that they could spend money on. I mean, you go like Google Bill Gates and look at Bill Gates' house. Bill Gates has got like this supercomputer house where you like walk down a hallway and the entire wall like changes. Like the entire wall is just a giant computer in the hallway. And that's like the whole house is just like crazy like that. And Mark Zuckerberg you look that type of stuff up. You look up Elon Musk. You look up Jeff Bezos. You look up all these people that have ungodly sums of money. And yeah, they're spending it left and right, but they've still got so much money left over that they're able to help people. So maybe your specific thing is that you want to help people. Well, you can't help others until you're able to help yourself. How are you able to help others when you can't even help yourself? Because, you know, maybe you could volunteer your time. But how much time do you have? Even if you gave all the time you possibly have, which is 24 hours in a day, that's the most you have to give if you're just giving your time. And you know, that's great. If that's all you have to give, that's all you can give, then that's great that you're doing that. But if you can give more, if you could outweigh your time in money, and this isn't, you know, if we're talking about being charitable and giving and whatnot, you're like, oh, well, that's just lazy, just giving people money. No, it's not, because that money just doesn't come to you. That just doesn't get there. You've got to work towards it. But if you're looking to make some sort of impact, money can open these doors and allow you these possibilities. But maybe first you want to, you know, get yourself in a position where you're comfortable, where you don't have to worry about money, so you're able to share that money. So you're able to work on causes that you believe in. But it all starts with being specific, measurable, and actionable. You know, it doesn't really get to you worrying about others until you're done worrying about yourself. You can't give that attention to other people, whether that is a complete stranger or a family or friend. You can't give them the attention to truly help them if you've got that attention on yourself of trying to still help yourself. So get yourself figured out, and then you can help out everybody else that is around you. And maybe that means, maybe you're not like, you know, somebody that's really big into charity. But maybe you want to grow a big business. That's helping people. Who are you helping? Well, you're helping your customers. You're helping your employees, your staff, your team. If you're a realtor and you've got other realtors on your team, you're helping them provide for their family. And as you start to achieve more success, that's where you get to greater levels of success, where it's no longer just about you. It's like, okay, who else can I help? Who else can I make more successful? Because if I help make them successful, I help them achieve what they want, that'll ultimately help me in some way, shape, or form. It was Zig Ziglar. If you guys have ever heard of Zig Ziglar, definitely check him out. He's got tons of great content, but one thing he used to always say, you can get anything that you want by helping people get what they want. You can get anything you want if you help enough people get what they want. That's the business that we're in. That's what we do at Tampa School of Real Estate. We help you get what you want. That's what you do for your clients. You help them get what they want. And it's this whole chain, this whole cycle of us helping other people get what they want that we're able to help ourselves. So getting clear on this and being confident on your role in all of this. Again, getting specific, measurable, and actionable. How many people do you want to help? What does that translate to in dollars? Because if you're helping people buy a $300,000 house at a 3% commission, that's going to translate to $9,000 in commission. So notice how you can apply this framework of being specific, measurable, and actionable everywhere it is that you go. Just leave out those last two parts. They try to make it a cool acronym so they could call it a SMART. It's a SMART goal. I don't think it's so smart when you're really worried about it being, okay, it's realistic, it's reachable. I've got to make sure I set my goal low so I get hit it and I can get a false positive. I get my trophy for last place. That's basically what you're doing when you set a goal to be reachable. So what if you never hit the goal? I'd rather not hit an immense, lifetime, crazy goal that seems unachievable. I'd rather not hit that than just set a really low goal and hit that and say, yeah, I did it. Now what? Oh, I guess, maybe try to do it again. That's not inspiring. That's not exciting. I don't know. Maybe it is for you. And that's what this is all about. This is about making it around you, of what you want, what your goals are, what you desire, so that you can build a plan to take action upon and achieve whatever it is that you set these goals for. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com. State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you mastermind or grow your real estate business. This is our way of giving back to everybody that wants to point their attention towards Tampa School of Real Estate. That's the only cost for this information we exchange here, is just your attention. That's all we need. That's literally all you have to pay to take the information that we provide on State of Real Estate, as well as Ask the Instructor and all the videos that we put out. We do that for free, and this is maybe something that you're maybe talking about, that maybe you're trying to grow your business. Maybe you're trying to increase the amount of deals that you do. And if you're ultimately trying to grow your income, and this is, again, kind of starting with that end in mind, reverse engineering this whole process. So let's just, maybe walk through some how you could kind of, play around with some of this to create a plan that inspires you. So maybe you're trying to achieve, $120,000 of income. We'll pick 120 to keep the numbers simple. So 120,000 a year is 10,000 a month. Which, maybe we're gonna sell, if we sell one house a month. One house a month, the $10,000 commission. Now, maybe that you've got a broker with a commission split. And maybe you get 80% of your commission. So if you get 80% of your commission, and you could really do this with all these numbers here, with the 120,000, with the 10,000, with any of these dollar amounts here. So if you get 80% of the commission, in order for you to get $10,000, we're going to take this 10,000 and divide it by 80%, and that's going to give you 12,500. So if you only get 80% of the commission, that you don't get it all, because if you got 100% of the commission, then you'd get 12,500 if you get a 12,500 commission. But if you only get 80%, you share 20% with your broker, that means you're going to get 10,000. So if you need $10,000 a month and you get 80% of the commission, that means you need to have $12,500 in gross commission income. That you ultimately need to bring in $12,500 gross commission income to your brokerage. You'll get 80% of that. You get $10,000. You do that 12 months every month out of the year. You end up with your $120,000 in commission income for you. But that it's a great start that we're at that. Okay, cool. I got to do 12,500 of commissions. But now, what does that equate to in houses that we sell? So we take that 12,500, and let's say that our average commission rate is, we'll say, a 3%. Whatever your commission rate it is that you typically earn, you'd plug that number in there. If you don't have one, maybe plug in 3%. But commission, remember, is always a negotiated amount between you and your client. So that's about 416. We'll say 417,000. Round it up a little bit. Whenever you're doing goal setting like this, always round up. Always be conservative. Always try to over. Because you're not going to be too happy if you set a goal for 120 and you only hit 115 or 110. But if you set the goal for 120 and you hit 130, send your complaints to our office here in New Tampa. So I'm sure you won't be mad about that. So looking at these numbers, we've got to do 417,000 in property sales per month to get 12,500 in commission coming into our brokerage, where we get 80%, where we've got $10,000 going into our pocket, which if we do that every month for 12 months out of the year, that's $120,000. And what does that mean we've got to sell for the year? Well, we multiply this now across 12 months, 417,000 times 12 months. And we've got about $5 million. We'll say $5.1 million. Again, round up. So worst case scenario is we just exceed our goals. Now you might look at that number. Now that's a much more specific number. You might, taking that $1 million number, if you pick $1 million just because it sounds good, because it's exciting. Oh, $1 million. If I could sell $1 million in real estate in a year, that'd be huge. $1 million. Can I broker $1 million in a year? Well, that's not really that much. You broker $1 million in a year, you'll get paid like $30,000 at a 3% commission. So, did you get your real estate license to go make $30,000 a year? I don't think so. So doing this math, this is what's making it specific and measurable and actionable. You figuring out specifically what you need to do, how you measure that, which is in the money here, and not just measuring this on a yearly basis, because if you wait till you got to the end of the year and say, oh, I didn't sell $5 million in real estate, you're not going to have hit your goal. But if you're breaking this down to what you need to be doing on a weekly basis, and you're reviewing this every single week, you could take action if you're falling below. Or if you're rising above, if you're making good progress towards hitting your goals, you could reflect on, okay, what is working that I'm doing that's going to keep us moving forward and pushing forward towards this year. So 5.1 million in sales a year. Now you might look at that and say, okay, well that's 5.1 million. How am I going to do 5.1 million in a year? Well, instead of just saying, how am I going to do that? What am I going to do? How am I going to sell 5.1 million? I got to go find a $5 million house. No, you don't. You could sell 5 $1 million houses. But let's say your average sale price of a home isn't $1 million. Maybe in your area, the average sale price is something around, like, I don't know, let's say $300,000. So if our average sale price is $300,000, that the average home is $300,000, and again, the 3% off of that, that's like $9,000, but then we've got to take the 80% of that. But we could play it back in all that, or we could just look at this compared to, okay, we need 5.1 million of the year. Our average home sale is 300,000, so how many homes do we need to sell? So we're going to divide that out, 5.1 million, divide that by 300,000, and that'll tell us that we need 17 home sales. If we sell 17 homes at $300,000, that'll get us $5.1 million in production in home sales in the year, which at a 3% commission will get us the $10,000 per month, or $120,000 a year. And just going through this again, rerunning through these numbers here, let's put this in red. Maybe you've got a lot of this figured out at this point now that, okay, cool, I need to sell 17 homes a year. And really, we need to break that down to what you need to do on a monthly basis. So we divide that out by 12, and that's 1.4 homes a month, which basically would equate to 2 homes per month. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but stick with us. We're going to finish fleshing out this math here. I'm John Christmer. You're watching State of Real Estate. Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline. I don't need to do post-licensing yet. But look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing. State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate, where we're talking about goal setting. We talked earlier about making it specific, measurable, and actionable, and what we're working through, a very typical real estate example of, I want to make this much money, so what do I got to do? A lot of times people say, yeah, I got to make this much money, so I got to go sell a bunch of homes. That's not specific. That's not measurable. It is actionable. I mean, you go out there and take actions, but you don't know how much actions to take. And that's what we're trying to decode and demystify here. So when we figured we need 17 sales in a year, if we divide that by 12, that gives us 1.4 sales a month. Then we need to sell 1.4 $300,000 homes a month. Well, how do we sell 1.4 homes in a month? You can't. So maybe you say, oh, well, I'll sell 3 homes in 2 months. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say take that 1.4, round it up to 2. And you might say, well, John, I don't need to sell 2 homes. Yeah, you don't need to. You don't need to sell any homes. But setting that bar higher, giving yourself that little extra, will give you some wiggle room for when you do have disappointments, when you do have things that don't go through, that you've already accounted for the unknown. If you're only selling 1.4 homes and you don't do any rounding up, if anything that you did not plan for comes up, it's going to completely derail you. And you're not going to be able to hit your goal because you didn't budget for the unknown. So rounding up helps you budget for the unknown. So what I would say is don't sell 1.4 homes a month because you can't sell 1.4 homes a month. Sell 2 homes a month. And yes, that will give us a lot more wiggle room because if we sell 2 homes a month, that's going to be 24 in a year. So 2 times 12 is 24 home sales times $300,000. So 24 sales times $300,000 for our average sale will give us 7.2 million, which is a lot more than that 5 million. So we've already got $2 million worth of wiggle room in here. And again, worst case scenario, you just sell more than what your goal is. You just make more money. Send your complaints in when you make more money than you wanted to. So 7.2 million. Now let's say, again, our average commission is 3%. So 3% to 7.2 million is 216,000. But we only get 80% of that, so 216,000 times 0.8 gives us $172,000. Now, you set your goal for $120,000 and you make $172,000 and you're not happy about it, send your complaints to me. But if you don't mind making extra money or making more money than you planned and budgeted for, this is the only way you make that a possibility. If you set your goal at $120,000 of income a year and you keep those exact numbers, you don't do any rounding, when something comes up, if you have a $50,000 mistake here, if you have some sort of mistake, some sort of issue that ends up costing you $50,000, or maybe you've got $50,000 in expenses, or you've got $50,000 of unknown that you didn't plan for, that still leaves you with $122,000. Now, what happens over here if you had a $50,000 mistake? Or you had $50,000 in expenses you didn't plan for, you had $50,000 of unknown. Well, now you're only making $70,000. Which, if you plan on making $120,000 and you only hit $70,000, maybe that doesn't fit into your master plan, because with the bills that you have and the things that you want to do and the expenses that you have and all these other things, maybe that puts you in a really tough situation. And that's the problem with underestimating the amount of action it's going to take to achieve whatever goal it is that you want. Here, you could miss your goal. You could miss by $50,000 and you're still going to really exceed the goal it is that you set out from the beginning. And that's the power of rounding. Just going from 1.4 homes a month to 2 homes a month, that gives you a buffer, a $52,000 buffer over the goal it is that you want to achieve. Now that's probably a little excessive for a buffer, so we can maybe back this off if you need to. Or again, if there's going to be times there's I think Jocko Willink is his name. He's a submarine guy that big guy, really into working out. One of the things he says is that I never plan for an off day, because off days happen when I don't plan for them. So he never plans an off day for when he's working out, because he knows that off days are going to come up, that there's going to be that unknown that you can't plan for. It doesn't matter how much you've trained, how much you've been educated, how much experience you have, there's still going to be unknown things that come up in your business. And if you don't budget for the unknown, that unknown's going to come in and it's going to mess things up. But if you do budget for the unknown, if you give yourself some wiggle room, if you give yourself some extra, worst case scenario, you just make more money than you planned. Send your complaints in. I'm sure you don't want to do that, though. Now, we need to make this more specific. We need to make this more measurable. We need to make this more actionable. Because if we think through the process of us practicing as a real estate professional, we don't know whether or not we're getting paid until the home sells. When the home sells, when the home closes, we're like, okay, cool, we're going to get paid for this. We're going to get paid for this client. But when we go take somebody out to go see homes, or we go on a listing appointment, or we go hold an open house, or we do anything that we're doing to generate business, we don't know if we're going to get paid off of this. We're basically working for free until you get paid. Now, if I were to throw a poll on here, we haven't figured out, I think there's some way we can do polls, but if you like working for free, raise your hand, leave a comment. I'm sure we're not going to really have anybody, though, because nobody likes working for free, but it's something that you have to do. And if you don't have a goal that excites and inspires you, you're not going to want to work for free. You're not going to want to invest in your future. That's the reason why a lot of people avoid investing in general, is they're looking for the big payday today. And that's understandable. But if you're ultimately trying to grow this and get to this level, or whatever that end goal it is that you want to achieve, you're going to be working for free until you get paid. So don't fight it. Embrace it. You know, that's when you're meeting with a buyer. And the first thing you tell them is, hey, you know what? Good news, you don't have to pay me a dime. You're like, what? I don't have to pay you? Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people don't know that they don't have to pay us when they're a buyer and we're already getting paid by the seller. Now, you could charge them money. There's all kinds of ways you could work this out. But embrace that whole working for free thing. You know, maybe somebody on a listing appointment, they say, oh, well, you know, we're not going to sign anything today. I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you do as well, that when somebody tells them they're not going to sign anything today, they like shut down. They're like, oh, great. Another person that's just wasting my time. And you know, these are the type of people that are professional victims. Oh, I went to the seller's house and God, they were just a big waste of time. They just wanted to waste my time. They said they weren't going to sign anything today. And so what did I even go out there for? Why did I even meet with them? They're obviously not serious. You know, real estate sucks. Don't be a professional victim. Take control of this. Embrace the working for free. Oh, we're not going to sign anything today. Oh, fantastic. Oh, good. That takes a lot of stress off of me. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Which one are they going to be more at ease at? Which one are you more likely to get the deal? Where you shut down? Or where you embrace it and you have a little humor in it? It's, oh, good. Thank God. I was worried that you're going to want to sign today. And at first, they're probably wondering, like, wait a minute, what? Because that's not something a salesperson is going to say. You walk into a car dealership, and your typical car salesman, you tell them you're not going to buy anything today, they'll probably say something like, oh, we'll see. Oh, well, what'd you come in for then? Oh, well, let me know if you have any questions. Here's my card. And they'll avoid you. When that's just something that we say. Because we get scared to make these decisions. We get scared to make the biggest purchase of our life, to buy the most expensive assets of our life. And that's what we're selling people. That's the deals that we're brokering, the biggest sales of these people's lives. So yeah, they're going to be a little intimidating. They're going to be a little scared. They're going to be a little anxious. They're going to get stressed out. And if we're all of those things as well, then how are we helping matters? We're making matters worse if we're any of those. If we're not positive, upbeat, enthusiastic, optimistic about the outcome of this transaction, if that's not us, if we're not the cheerleader getting this transaction going through, nobody else really is going to be. And you only have control over you. You have ultimate control over yourself, but not anybody else. Maybe you have some influence on other people, but ultimately the only person who you can control their actions is your own. So the sooner you embrace that and take a step back and look at how it is that you're approaching situations. Maybe you've had that where you've noticed maybe you've shut down on somebody before. And maybe you don't intend to do that, but it happens. And that's the first thing, is just being honest with yourself of where your areas of improvement and opportunity are. And then you could translate that into a specific, measurable, actionable goal. Now, I told you leave out the timeliness and everything like that, but we have been factoring all this on a 1 year basis. A lot of people like to plan this out on a 1 year basis, but there's always going to be some time involved. Because if you say you want to make $1 million, if you've got a minimum wage job, you'll make $1 million. I think minimum wage in Florida now is, I don't know, maybe like $9 or something like that. So let's see how long it would take you to make $1 million at $9 an hour. So $1 million divided by 9 is 111,000 hours. So 111,000 hours, we'll say 112,000 hours because there were some decimals there. So 112,000 hours divided by 24 hours in a day, that's 4,666 days, divided by 365 days in a year, 12 years. If you want to become a millionaire, work 12 years for minimum wage, and it's actually probably going to happen faster than that because the minimum wage is going to keep going up. But, I mean, worst case scenario right now, you're looking at 12 years to make $1 million. Now, that's where the catch comes in. Well, obviously, 12 years, I mean, that's not that good. $1 million across 12 years, I mean, cool. That's let's see, $1 million. It's less than divided by 12 years. Well, let's assume you're only working 40 hours a week, though. So 40 hours a week times $9 an hour It's actually going to be a little longer than 12 years. That 12 years was assuming you're working 24 hours a day. So 40 times 9, that's $360. Let's say you're working 52 weeks a year. That's $18,720 a year. So if you're getting paid probably about minimum wage, that's $18,720 a year, which now if we're trying to find $1 million off of that $18,720, that ends up giving us, 53 years. So 53 years you'll become a millionaire at minimum wage. Which are like, no, I want the 12 years. How do I get the 12-year plan? Okay, well, how much are you working? How much you work? You probably don't even want the 12-year one. Maybe you're like, okay, let's do this in like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. But that's the point here. All this stuff doesn't matter if you don't put a time to it. So if you're doing this across a year, great. But I would advise you to look at this on a weekly basis, that you're going back and reviewing this every single week to know where you're at. But now if you want to get to 24 sales, that's what we figured off of this, that you need 24 deals, 24 transactions. That's not going to equate to 24 customers. Now there's ultimately 24 people that will be these 24 deals, but you'd be really lucky extremely lucky. You'd basically hit the jackpot if you meet 24 people in 1 year that result in 24 deals and that's the only people that you meet. It's not going to happen. So you've got to expand into a larger audience of people. And maybe to get these 24 deals, maybe that means you have like 30 or 35 contracts. We've done episodes before on reverse engineering. If you haven't been on our Success Center yet, check out tampaschool.com/success, tampaschool.com/success, and search for Business Plan Calculator. So if you're trying to really make a specific business plan for you to go into 2020 with, search for our Business Plan Calculator. We have an exercise in our post-licensing class. It's right in one of the first modules that you do in the post-licensing class, where you're going through this specifically of how many buyers you're working with, how many sellers you're working with, how many leads do you need, how many appointments do you need, so that way you have these specific, measurable, actionable targets that you can look at every single week. Because if you're not looking at this every single week, you're not going to find out if you're on track until the end of the year. If all you do is set a goal of, I need to sell 24 homes in a year, and then you get to the end of the year and you've only sold 7 homes, you're like, well, I guess I didn't hit my 24. But if you look at this on a monthly basis, let's start with monthly. If we figure this monthly, and on 24 homes in a year, we're figuring 2 homes a month. If we're looking at this on a monthly basis, and we look back on January, at the end of January, we look back on January and say, we didn't sell anything. That means I'm going to have to work these other 2 sales in across the rest of the year. And now that's going to change our entire formula. It's going to change all the different steps of, we're now having to do more actions, because obviously the level of action we took in January wasn't enough if we didn't even get our even 1 sale and we were trying to get 2 sales in January. So when you look at this, even just on a monthly basis, you're able to correct. You're able to say, okay, well, the rest of the year I've got to do now X amount of actions. And after February, if it's still, maybe you've sold 1 home or 2 homes and not the 4 homes that you needed at that point, you're like, okay, let's readjust again. But I would say to really take this down even further. So maybe instead of monthly, you look at this every other week. Now, at the very least, do this monthly. But really, I would ultimately recommend you do it weekly, but we're getting there. We're getting there. At least start with doing this monthly, but I would say look at this every 2 weeks. And if 2 weeks have gone by and you haven't closed a deal, you don't have anything else under contract, you're not making any progress to getting that deal, because for 24 homes in a year, that's basically 1 home every other week. Every 2 weeks, you need to be selling a home, roughly. And this is how you can hold yourself accountable. And this is where you start to realize how reachable your goals are for that period of time. So you maybe start doing this math and say, okay, I'm going to sell 24 $300,000 homes this year, and maybe the way your business generates leads is solely off of advertising. Well, that means if you're generating your business solely off advertising and you want to get more business, that means you're going to have to invest in more advertising so that you get more business. Maybe you don't use advertising to get clients. Maybe you're doing that based off of word of mouth and referral business. Maybe off of past clients. If you solely work off of past clients and that's the only way you generate business, it's going to be hard to grow that, because the only way to grow that is you need more past clients. You need more past clients to have more past clients so you get more referrals. So then that's maybe where you look at this and you realize, okay, well, if I want to hit $117,000 in income and I want to sell 24 homes in a year, I'm going to have to figure out a new way to get clients because my existing sphere of influence, my existing base, that's not enough. But maybe there is some opportunity in your base. Maybe you haven't been following up with them well. Maybe you haven't been actively soliciting referrals from your past clients. And so maybe that's things you could implement. Because what you've done to get you where you are is not the same things you need to do to take you to where you want to go. You're going to have to learn new things, master new skills, add new techniques, new flows, new strategies to be able to continue to push and grow this further. But it all starts with making it real. Because now when you've got all these numbers, notice how I'm saying, okay, 117,000 a year, 24 homes in a year. This is much more real. It's much more specific. It's much more measurable. And since we have those two things, we can get much more actionable where we can do specific things that's going to attribute to us hitting that major end-all be-all goal at the end. So look, that's about all the time we've got for today. Don't just watch this video and not take any action. If you haven't already, start writing down your goals. And it could start out with just something as simple as, I want to take a trip. I want to go on a vacation. Maybe that's all it is that you want. I just want to be able to take a vacation this year. That's a good starting point. Start with that. And then build upon that. You know, this is a skill. This is a skill that you will become better at the more that you do it. You'll start to realize, and as you're growing your real estate business, you'll have a better pulse on these numbers where you'll know, okay, if I meet with this many people, that's going to result in this many appointments, that's going to result in this many sales. And when you've got it dialed in like that, where you have a machine where you put money and action in and you get more money out, that's a business. That's what a business is. A business is a system, a process that involves technology, that involves people, that involves training, that involves all these things related to business, but it basically takes a client through this process that ultimately helps the client. And that's something a lot of people don't think about, but in 2020, and it's only going to get more so, that where a business's reputation is everywhere. If you're not helping people, you're not going to have a sustainable long-term business. So we help the people, and by helping people, we get what we want. We get paid some way, somehow, by helping others. And we master this to where we get this dialed in exactly to a science, so we know exactly what we've got to do, what parts need to be in place, what trainings need to be in place, what people need to be trained on what, and we can move people through this process. And that's where it gets to where it could be scalable, where you could grow beyond your wildest dreams when you've got the system in place. So it all starts with just something small. What is it that you want? Just start putting it on paper. If you've never written a goal down before, if you've done it before and you just haven't done it recently, write down. Even if your goals are wrong with the SMART, they're not specific, measurable, or actionable, or anything, if you just write down, I want a boat, and that's all you do, you're more likely to get the boat than just thinking about the boat. So whatever it is that you're wanting, that you want to achieve, maybe that's a car, maybe that's a boat, maybe that's a house, maybe it's your kid's school, maybe it's money and savings, maybe it's investments, maybe it's cash flow, maybe it's opportunities, whatever it is for you that you want, make it specific, make it measurable, make it actionable, and get out there and do it. Take the action. Review your goals weekly. Maybe you don't hit your goals. If you're hitting your goals consistently, I would argue you're not setting your goals high enough. And what's the worst case scenario? You just don't hit your goals, but you still make more money. So, yeah, send your complaints in if you want. But that's all I got for you guys today. Specific, measurable, actionable. Go write your goals down. Go put that out there and spend one day out of every week this year reviewing this. Just a little bit of time. Maybe it's only 10, 20 minutes. But review this. Look at this. Just looking at the goals. Write them every day. But it's got to start with them being designed correctly in the first place. And these will evolve over time. You'll make them better. They'll become more specific. They'll become more actionable. They'll be more better, for lack of a better term. But you'll also be able to grow them. If you're doing this consistently, you're going to start hitting this. Maybe you get 6 months into the year and you've already hit this. You're like, I already hit my annual goal in 6 months. Now what? And it's like, well, let's turn the goals up. Let's keep doing this. Obviously, what we're doing is working. So let's just, set our goals higher and achieve more. So that's all we got for today. Look, if you're wanting to get a real estate license, if you're looking at this and one of your goals is, hey, I want to go get a new job. I hate what I'm doing. I don't like what I'm doing. I want to be in control of my income. I want to be the person that's responsible for how much money it is that I make. I don't want anybody else responsible for how much money I make. I want to set my own schedule, make my own hours, set my own appointments, and not answer to anyone except for kind of answering to your broker for legal purposes and whatnot. But ultimately, get the freedom it is that you're seeking. Real estate is a great vehicle for that. I know, because that was me. I was frustrated with where I was in life and what I was doing and what my potential was in my current vehicle. And I grew up in real estate, and I didn't want to go into real estate. But it pulled me in. When I tried to go do my own thing, it didn't work out. I look back at real estate. And real estate has just such a great cooperative environment amongst everybody in real estate. It's a great place to find success if you've been struggling to find it already. So if you're looking for that success, if you want to give real estate a try, if you want to find out just what it takes to get a real estate license. It's not much. Call us up, 813-333-2676. That's 813-333-2676. If you already got your license and you're like, ooh, this business planning thing, I think this could be helpful for me, go take our post-licensing class. Even if you already took post-licensing before, doing this goal setting, even if that results in you only selling one more home than you would have sold otherwise, if you're getting $10,000 commission checks from selling one home, then go pay the $200 to go take the course so you can make $10,000. And that's, again, going back to this whole working for free thing. It's the same thing with your clients. You're not going to get paid up front. People don't pay their realtors up front. We don't get paid until closing. We get paid last. So don't be afraid to work for free, because if you don't work for free, you're not going to get paid. But it all starts with having a real estate license, taking your post license, and getting the training education you need. That's what we're here for. We want to see you successful. Our success is when you succeed. That's how we succeed, is by helping you succeed. That's why we're here every Friday. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell icon so you get notifications whenever we go live, so you don't miss out on any of this information. So that way in 2020, you can grow your real estate business to where it is that you want it to be. It's all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
State of real estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.